Today, when we talk about this training pathway, some of you have all experienced some aspect of this. We have formally launched this training pathway, and we've placed in charge our distributor, the Vattikuti technology company, who is our distributor here in India, to actually implement this training pathway. So the new surgeons going through have the best opportunity to have the most amount of confidence and competence as they come out of the training pathway, go into the OR, and actually start their first procedures. So this is a paradigm shift per se from what maybe you're used to with getting a medical device or a new technology, somebody training you on that technology, then being supported in a case or two, and then that individual goes away and you go on and utilize that equipment. What we're talking about here is a relationship where from the moment you start training to the end of your profession that you're involved in the technical training pathway. So let me take you through this pathway. First off, it is a step-by-step procedure and process. However, it's not rigid. It's designed to work with surgical societies, hospital credentialing. It's designed to work with fellowship programs, residency programs, so a lot of flexibility. No one training pathway should be the same because we all have different needs. So it is a contract, not a written legal contract, but really this is between you and your CSR, the individual who's going to be working with you, who's going to be your coach, who's going to help take you through this pathway so that when you get to your first case, you're ready to perform Da Vinci surgery. You've technically mastered the robot and you've had an opportunity to demonstrate that on live tissue. So this has been designed and perfected over 21 years, and a good majority of the actual technology that we work with on the live tissue has been developed by surgeons. So what does it do for us? And right here I have listed. It does get you through your learning curve faster. If you have a good training pathway, and we have a lot of good studies out there that show that the surgeons that have committed themselves to a good training pathway will have a shorter learning curve and will go on to be successful Da Vinci surgeons. And I have a few slides to share with you that show that. Improve system skills and confidence. Basically what it's all about, and the 65% of the surgeons that I mentioned earlier really is they did not have the confidence or competence to go out and do the surgery because they didn't feel comfortable with whatever type of training that they received. So that's what we want to give you, is that confidence and competence to go on and be a successful surgeon utilizing the Da Vinci tool. Also improved chance of surgeon retention. Again, that ties back to the confidence and competence. And then the clinical proficiency development. Really, in our 4 phases, our last phase really addresses that, and I'll go through that. So just what I'd like to do now is basically take you through our training pathway. We really have 3 that we have created. We have a training pathway for the surgeons. We actually have one for the first assists, and we have one for the nurses as well. These are very successful pathways, and that have been proven to work. So what we're going to do today is just talk about the surgeon training pathway. Again, it's a 4-phase workflow. And phase 1. Phase 1 actually is something that occurs even before you've contracted with Vattikuti Technologies on committing yourself. This is about the learning about the value of Da Vinci, because one thing we've learned is one of the key reasons a surgeon stalls or does not go on to perform a case is because they don't realize the value. They don't know why they were training in the first place. A lot of people, hey, I want to train. I want to be a robotic surgeon. And we'd said, okay, we'll train you. And they go on and do no cases. So in phase 1, it really is about us introducing the technology to you so you can find the need within your practice so that you can apply that technology. So when those 2 meet, that's usually the surgeons that go on to be very successful. That's almost everybody in this room today, and why you're doing robotic surgery is because you saw the value of the vision, the precision, or the control, and saw how it could either improve your outcomes or make a difference in your patients' lives. So this is, again, about learning about that vision, that precision, and control. And then when you determine that you understand how it could benefit you, then it's time to sit down and contract on what you need to do, right, to become a surgeon. It's very important to train the right surgeon at the right time. To train a surgeon today who's not going to have access to a robot for a year or 6 months doesn't do anybody any good. It's a waste of that individual's time and the resources because the skill degrades over time, and we know that as well. So phase 2, now that you've contracted, you see that, the superior visualization can make a difference in your practice, or you can now treat a wider range of patients, right, due to the precision of the robot. So now you contract with your CSR, and you develop your training pathway that fits best for you, and now you're going to actually start getting in and doing activities that are going to hone your skill. And that's really what phase 2 is. And this is really one of the most important phases of learning how to properly use the robot. Now, I was very impressed. I saw some very good videos today on some the different surgical practices, but I also saw some videos that had some techniques that could actually use some improving. And that's what this pathway does, is to help every level of surgeon. So here, this is about online modules, right? That's how we start. And then we also conduct the in-service. This is a time where you get one-on-one and you learn every aspect of the 3 components of the Da Vinci system. Then also simulation, or dry skills if you don't have access to a simulator. Extremely important, preparing you really for the last item here, which is the Da Vinci training, the 8-hour training lab. Of course, we're very proud of Amarita since they've opened up, and we've trained 27 surgeons to date at that lab. Their performance, those surgeons coming out of that lab, have been fantastic. So this is important. I'm going to go through a little bit about this day right here, but one of the things is, if you have not prepared up to this point, when you get on live tissue, if you're just learning how to use it for the first time, you're missing out on the value of going to a live tissue lab. So this is one of the areas I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the training facility, or the 8-hour day when you get on live tissue. There's really 3 main components to this day. First off, it is coming in and doing a surgeon skills assessment. Basically, we give you a test right when you come in. We put you on a simulator, we tell you which exercises to do, and we grade you. No coaching, no training. And then we have you do some suturing. We let you choose a one-handed or a two-handed method. And then we have you dock, right? And then we have you do a port placement as well. And during that, what we're doing is we're learning, first off, how well were you prepared for your training lab, right? But secondly, it's going to allow the trainer to really focus on, when you get on the wet tissue, to really focus on the areas that you are weakest, so that we can get you, by the end of the day, feeling very confident, so that you can go on and perform your first case series. So you come in, you do your surgical skills assessment, and there's you do that, and then there's training associated with that. And then in the afternoon, you get into your wet lab, and this is really where you're honing your skills. You're learning everything from dissection and energy application in this combined space with an additional third arm, suturing, both one-handed and two-handed, and running sutures, clutching, camera adjustments, learning how to minimize your movement, and coordinate basically all the capabilities that the robot offers in that environment. And then at the end of the day, after walking through emergency procedures, we give you an exit assessment. And in almost all cases, for the surgeons who were committed to the process, score very well at the end of the day, and they leave with the confidence, ready to start preparing for that first case. Which leads me now to really phase 3 of this technical training pathway. And this is preparation for the initial case series. This is where you want to set up, you do your dry run. Check out your port placement. Make sure every person in the operating room knows their roles and responsibilities, right? Having the anesthesiologist in as a part of that group, so there's no questions. You've covered everything. Also, sometimes there's a delay between the time you come out of your training, your wet lab training, to the time you do your first case. What are you doing in between? Because every day you do nothing, your skills are degrading again. So what have you put into your training plan? Simulation exercises, dry skill exercises. What are you doing to maintain your skill set leading up to that first case? Very important to ensure that you're getting practice time in preparation for that first case. So that's the initial case series plan. Extremely important. Also, who's your proctor, who's supporting you during this case. There's a direct correlation between those who stall and those who had a proper proctor who was coaching them during their first case series. Phase 4, this is really where I feel we differentiate ourselves from almost all other companies, is what we're saying to you is, and I'm speaking for our distribution partners, and this is, after you train, after you do your first case series, we don't just walk away. We're saying is, now let's continue our development. We're going to stay with you all the way through to the end. What that means is getting you into advanced master level programs, right? Improving your technical skill, improving your clinical skill, also helping you advance and start adopting new procedures with your skill set. And then even beyond that, it's about having you now contribute back to the new surgeons within India and helping us, right, build advanced and master level programs. And that's something that right now we're very keen on doing and very focused, and we will be working with the Vattikuti Foundation, Vattikuti Technologies, and setting up where you're running all these different multi-specialty advanced and master level programs here on a more routine basis. So really, and I'll walk through this very fast, and we could spend hours talking about the technical training pathway. But the most important thing is this, is that if you commit yourself to the training pathway, and I ask you who are all existing robotic surgeons is, think about your own practice right now and the new surgeons that are going to be coming in, or as you grow your practice, what are they doing to prepare themselves? Are they in a technical training pathway? Are they in some workflow? What are they doing? I assure you that they will have success if they commit themselves. Let me share some data with you. This slide just represents a 4-year snapshot of general surgeons who attended basic training, right? And the yield that those surgeons, and that's represented in blue, okay? And then the surgeons that committed to advanced training and master level training after their basic training, you can see had a much higher output, much greater confidence and competence. So as robotic surgery tackles more complex surgeries, right, we need more complex training. And really that's what this represents, is especially with our 4th generation system, the XI, which can do more, right? So we need to train more. And this is a really good illustration of the impact of dedicating yourself to further training. So what does it really all mean is this. We can see this. This is really just a representation of surgeons that have trained. So those surgeons that commit to a technical training pathway and they get to their first case series within a relatively short time after their training are going to go on to be your most successful surgeons. The more surgery you do, the better you get. And that really is represented with the circle. So the bottom line is a strong TTT prevents stalling and is the best indicator of future performance. So I know I kind of ran through that very fast, but my final message is this. I think that we have an opportunity here to truly commit ourselves, right, in concert with the Vattikuti Foundation, the society's desires of how they want their surgeons to be trained, for specific credentialing requirements from individual hospitals. All that can be built within the framework of a training pathway. We want you to be technical experts as you prepare to utilize the technology. So with that, I'll go ahead and close my comments and open it up for any questions.